I'll read it, and then I'll give it to you. He has to do it.
All right. Well, friends, I'm inside the house. I would much rather be outside, but here we are, and I've got Q with us, and she's getting ready to start here in just a few minutos, and her daddy, Willie Mac, is here in the house as well. And there's a few of my friends logging in, so we're glad to see Norm and Joan, and I hope Morgan's over there, and Karen. So it's good to see everybody. Hello, Jim and Melinda from Culpeper, Virginia. Greetings, Norm. Hello. Oh, Sherry Derby is back in the house. She hasn't been to church for weeks, and so I'm glad she finally came back tonight. That's awesome. She needs a little Jesus, I'm telling you. Hello, Ron and Martha. Good to see you. Jacob, good to see you, buddy. Debbie Johnson, nice to see you. I hope your dad's doing well, Debbie. How are you guys? Cookie, good to see you, my friend. Welcome. Jacob, congratulations on your girl graduating from high school. How exciting is that? Hola, Cacao. ¿Cómo estás, amiga? Bienvenidos. Miriam and Bob, good to see you. And there's my niece, Anitra, coming in here. Hello, Miss Mary Alice from Nokesville. Nice to see you today. Anitra, are you in Chicagoland today? Jeff Holman, welcome, buddy. Good to see you guys. Stop. And what does my shirt say? My shirt says, I wasn't made for social distancing. That's what it says, because I was not made for social distancing. I hate this. In fact, I've got Q and Will wearing masks in my house. I can't even feed them because they're wearing masks in my house. This is ridiculous. Redonkulous. Still in St. Louis, Anitra. Okay. Oh, good morning or good evening, Lisette. Glad you joined us. Hello, Jan Rail. Welcome, my friend. I liked your video of the rain. That was nice. Marty, are you back from the great Northeast, from Maine and Massachusetts or wherever? Hey, Linda. Good morning, evening, Marge. Hey, Royda. Good to see you guys. Welcome. It's fascinating. We've already got 35 people with us right now, so it kind of jumps up real quick and kind of get them in here. And so nice to see everybody. I keep waiting for my sister to come online so everybody can tease her a little bit about being late, but she's not here yet, so I can't do that. So if you see Sue Irvin jump online, we're going to
my wife logged in.
Gonna get her. I haven't seen Jennifer either, so I haven't seen. So she's late too, and that's her daughter and husband who are involved. So Jen, you better get on quick. Hello, WJ and Barbara, Peggy and Tom from North Carolina. Welcome. Good to see you guys from the Tar Heel land. Cookie, I hate social distancing and miss hugs too. That's true. Hello, Big Joe. Good to see you, buddy. Hello, Rick. Are you down in North Carolina yet? I hope you're ready to go see your grandson, your newest grandson down there. That's exciting. Mercy. Well, John Calloway, and I'm guessing Miss Sarah is with you. Hello, Calloway family. My favorite fans from Alabama. Kimberly, welcome back from vacation. I need you to call me tomorrow, Kimberly. I've got a question for you. I've got something. And April Smith, back from all of her travels. Okay, if your mom hangs up on you, Nietzsche, that's a problem. We don't want to make that public on Facebook, so don't do that. So anyhow, we will tell your mom she needs to come to church tonight. She needs to get in here so we can tease her a little bit. Peggy Downey, welcome. VHFS, I don't understand that. VHFS. Hello, Miss Stephanie. Good to see you. Hello, Dan and Becky. Good to see you guys. All right, friends. Well, I want to, as you're logging in, appreciate you logging in where you're from and just those kinds of things. So I want to ask you any prayer requests that we need to be aware of so we can pray together as we get started. Thank you, Kimberly. I appreciate that. Any prayer matters that we need to remember as a group tonight? I've got several. And so if you have any, please write them in while we're going through this. Well, Royda, we miss you. He misses you. I promise you, I miss you as well. Want to pray for Sharon Potter. She's a member of our church, and she is going in for surgery tomorrow morning. Going to be a pretty significant surgery over in Washington, D.C., and we want to pray for her. It's kind of a scary situation with COVID. Her husband is going to drop her off at the door. He won't even go in, so we want to pray for Sharon and for the extended family. Norm just posted a neighbor's father is under hospice care. Hello, Miss Nancy. Welcome to joining. Thank you for joining us. we'll pray for your friend's father there, Norm. I mentioned in my email, birth fathers, widows having knee surgery. Okay, Jan, we'll remember that. I mentioned yesterday in my email last week that a lady in our church named Barbara Hall, she lost her second sister during this COVID situation, and we want to pray for her. I just cannot imagine the grief that she's dealing with and the inability to engage with people during the separation. Miss Angela, welcome from Florida. It's good to see you with us. Thank you for connecting here with us tonight. So I want to pray. I will tell you something nice about Sharon. When I was talking to her this weekend, and she was going on about the loss of her sister, and that's the second sister, and hasn't been able to be at the funeral, and all the grief that's going on with that. We were just going on and on about the pain of the grief that she was feeling, and out of the blue, she just started laughing, and she said, "But David, there's something you've done that just makes me laugh." And I said, "Sharon, what is that?" And Sharon told me. She said, "Your friend who said you're a terrible, terrible preacher." And she started laughing, and she said, "David, was he from West Virginia? Because that sounds like something somebody from West Virginia would say." And I said, or Charles Barkley, as Will just pointed out. And it was so nice to listen to her laugh in the midst of all that pain. So anyway, Jen Stolting just logged in, so we're happy. Pray for Lois Wine. That's Lisa Klein's mother, who's not doing well, so we want to remember her as well. I also got on the phone today with a friend of mine named Cameron. His father died a couple of weeks ago of COVID, and just the grief and the pain of losing his father under whatever circumstances, just been a bit overwhelming for Cameron, so I invite you to pray for Cameron. All right, my sister just arrived, so everybody say, "Susie, we're glad you're here, even though you are 7 minutes late." So, Susie, we're glad you're here. Everybody say hi to Susie. Let Susie know you're glad she's here and all that good stuff. So show my sister some love and let her know that. And so, all right, Royda, we'll continue to pray for your friend who has the coronavirus. We'll do that. And remember that there, okay? Any other prayer requests? Thank you, Peggy, for saying hi to my sister. Everybody else, show some love to my sister. Very good. All right. Any other prayer things? All right, well, I have two people in the house with me, and I am going to ask my friend Willie. I sometimes call him Willie Ray. I sometimes call him Willie Mack. I call him Will. I call him Big Will. I can call him a lot of different things because he is just a target for all kinds of stuff, and he's just a good target because he's a good guy, and so I'm glad that he's here. He and his daughter are wearing their masks right now, so I'm going to step away from the camera, and then he's going to come in and lead us in prayer, and then I'll have to come back, and then in just a few minutes I'll bring his daughter to come in and speak to us. So Willie Mack, you want to come up and lead us in prayer?
Definitely.
And I'll go back here.
Okay. There we go. I'm losing my mask. Awesome. How's everybody doing? Real quick before I lead us in prayer, just ask that you guys do me a huge favor. After, at some point during this, just type some words of encouragement for David. He's been doing an amazing job throughout this entire process. To lead a church and to lead anybody while you're in the presence of them is hard enough, but to lead a group or to lead a church when no one's around and to do this virtually, it's very hard. So just send some words of encouragement, throw some praise his way, just kind of give him everything he deserves. He's been doing an amazing job. So if I could ask everyone to bow their heads, lead us in prayer. Lord, I just come to you tonight. I just want to lift those up. Heard some names: Sharon Potter, Norm's neighbor, Barbara Hall. David mentioned Cameron with the loss of his father. All those that just have those prayer requests. I just ask that you just lift those up. This time that we're in right now is a very tough time. But I just ask for all of us to open our hearts tonight to hear David's words and allow them to touch us. Touch us in such a way that we can just go out and use those words. Even if we just glean something very small from the message tonight, use that and be the light of Christ, because I believe the more we do that, the better this world will be. We'll all be better off in the long run. So I just ask all these things in your great name. Amen.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate that. That was very kind of you, and
Thank you.
that's a nice thing. So I appreciate that. That was kind. And honestly, while he was praying, I was going to come back and make ears behind his head, but I didn't do that. After he said that, I thought that would have been immature, and I didn't want to do that. All right, guys. For those of you who are joining us outside of Manassas, you might not know, but we had our first regathering on Sunday. We met outside, and we had about 160 people show up. It was so hot, I think we could have cooked an egg on the sidewalk. It was just so painfully hot, and I appreciated everybody who came out. We tried to do it with the shade, and not enough shade for everybody, but it was tough, but it was so good to see everyone. I want you to be aware that we are looking to do an outdoor service on a monthly basis. We're looking to do it again on August 23rd, and we're going to do it the same way. We're going to do it in the back. We're going to do it with lawn chair. You bring your lawn chairs. We're going to encourage everybody to wear masks coming and going. And so those are some things that we're going to be doing. We are hoping that in the very near future that we're going to be able to broadcast both services, the early service traditional, later service contemporary, live. And we will be able to bring in 69 people into the traditional, and we can bring in 100 into the worship space. And we're trying to figure out what that's going to look like. And so we're thinking we're going to be inviting small groups to come in. And so if you're a member of Richard Potter's small group, or if you're a member of Standing Stones, or if you're a member of the students, or the whatever small group we have, and we've got a bunch, about 20, we're going to invite by small groups to join us. And so just if you're not a member of a small group and you want to come in, you might want to call Anna so that we can get you plugged into a small group so that you can be a part of coming in whenever we come in and get started. Again, there are churches that are regathering and going live right now in the North Star Network that our church is very involved with. A lot of them are still not doing it. We're still just holding off. Mary Beth did a straw poll of some parents who were at our gathering on Sunday, asking those parents if they would come into church for children's church and things of that nature. And 95% of our parents that were there that she did the straw poll with said no, said they would not come in. And so outdoor worship, online worship is kind of interesting. We met with our elders. I met with the elders on Monday evening, and we were talking about how our online presence is going. And just as I'll share these numbers with you and let you be aware of this as well. But what we're averaging on the number of people who are connecting with us right now, like on Facebook, right now we have 52 computers that are logged on to us right now. Now, that doesn't mean there's just 52 people, because here in my room, there's 3 of us. And in some of your houses, there's 2 or 3 or 1 or whatever. So every Sunday morning, we're averaging about 984 views on Facebook. Some of those views might be 5 seconds or 3 seconds or 3 minutes or 10 minutes. We don't know the metric of how long. But we know that about 984 are watching us Sundays, averaging out. And on YouTube, which is a total other metric and a total other measurement, we're averaging about 430 people watching every week. So our attendance in a virtual setting, online setting, has quadrupled. Not quite quadrupled, but it's gone up and more than doubled. And so we're not happy with what's going on, but just want you to be aware that we're working on it and trying to make some things happen. One other positive thing I want to share with you. Last week, a friend of mine from my very first youth group, his name is Sharon Hargis. He lives in Christopher, Illinois. And Sean, his wife has a disability, and I'm not certain what it is. I don't know if it's multiple sclerosis or muscular dystrophy. I don't know. But they needed to buy a wheelchair accessible vehicle, and theirs had fallen apart or was no longer functioning. And he put on Facebook last Thursday a request to help them raise $10,000 on Facebook. And by Saturday, they had raised $14,000. I shared that, and about 5 to 10 people on my Facebook page here in Virginia supported that, and that really made me feel good. I appreciate your generosity and the way people reached out. Sean posted on Facebook Sunday. He said, I had no idea we would raise that much money, and I think now it's even north of that. So how cool is that? And so I was pretty excited about that. Yesterday, I was able to stop by and see Sharon Potter before her surgery tomorrow morning. And Sharon looked great. She insisted that I come in the house, and I had to call her daughter on her phone and say, Ann, tell your mother to leave me alone. I'm not going in her house. She had to get ready for a surgery, and I kept 10 feet away from her and all of that. Hold on a second. I have to. Joni Bernhard just logged in. Everybody, don't let me forget. Will, don't let me talk about Joni Bernhard, okay? Hold on to that name for me. So Sharon is going in for surgery, and I posted a prayer request on Facebook today, and probably 50 people have just made a comment, and I sent all of your comments to her in Facebook, and she called me just crying, and she said, David, I don't even know these people, and they're praying for me from all over the world. And she said, why are they doing that? And I said, well, Sharon, that's just what we do. So I thought that was two pretty cool things to do from Facebook. So Joni Bernhard, she just came in. And Willie Mack, I need to tell you about Joni Bernhard.
Does Joni love Chachi?
Joni, I don't know if she loves Chachi or not, but Joni and I grew up together. Joni, and Q doesn't even know who Chachi is. So that cultural reference, we got to be old like me and you and Joni. And so, because Joni was my next door neighbor from the time I was born. She's a lot older than me. She's like 5 months older than me. And her birthday is coming up this month. In fact, it's next week. And she'll be a lot older than me. She'll be a whole year older than me. And I am just so excited to see her on my Facebook Bible study. And I can tell, 55 people that Joni's birthday's coming up. And we need to show some love to Joni and say, happy birthday, Joni.
Did she just log off?
She's still logged in. She hasn't logged off. And and so Joni, so if you guys can send Joni some love and say happy birthday, Joni, I would greatly appreciate it. Her mom and dad were like my second parents. They're both gone like my parents, and I flew back to Illinois about 3 years ago to do her mom's funeral, and I love that family. So, wait, you are a year older. You'll be 54 starting next week, and I'm still 53. So there you go. Thank you, Heather. Hey, Joni, that's a birthday greeting from Hong Kong. Heather is in Hong Kong, and she woke up at 6 a.m. to wish you a happy birthday. Awesome. So, Joni, there you go. There's some love. And you're going to get a lot of love from all these people because they're awesome. Now, I know the real reason you guys come is not to listen to my Bible study or to hear me pick on my neighbor Joni or to pick on my sister Susie or any of that. You come for the dad jokes. And I think I found out pretty clearly that you really like Q's dad jokes more than my dad jokes. So I asked Q to come back, and so Q's back with us, and so Q is she's got some dad jokes ready. I can already see the list, and she's ready to roll. And Q is wearing a face mask with Hamilton. So Q has been introduced to Hamilton. She's watched Hamilton 5 times in the last week and is listening to the soundtrack. I asked her if we could sing a Hamilton song tonight, or sometime in the future, and I don't know if she wants to do that. I think she's worried. I think she's worried about my singing ability, but anyway. So Q has got some dad jokes coming, and so Q, get on over here and show some love.
All right, big girl.
Okay. So, I used to have a job at a calendar factory, but I got fired because I took a couple of days off. And last night I had a dream that I was a muffler, and I woke up exhausted.
It's a good one.
You know, people say they pick their nose, but I feel like I was just born with mine.
Wait, that's not true, because some people do pick their nose and they change it.
Later.
They change it, that's right.
I'm so good at sleeping, I can do it with my eyes closed. And last but not least, what did the fisherman say to the magician? Pick a cod, any cod.
Pick a cod, any cod.
Really good job.
All right, Q. Thank you. Very good. All right. I really do want Q to sing for us sometime. She has done that for our online youth gatherings, and so sometime soon we're going to get Q to join us. Q, you got a big shout out from Mary Alice Corder. She said, "Good evening, Q. Here's a hug from your NBC grandma." So that's just got to make you smile. So that's good. So very cool. All right, guys. Well, if you have your Bibles, I'm going to ask you to open up to the book of James, and we're going to look in the book of James, and we're going to talk tonight about, again, another topic that we need to address in our nation, and that is, Joni, you're still getting some birthday love. Karen Borzinski just wished you a happy birthday. That's awesome. Outstanding. Oh, Timmy, thank you for sharing that. I did not know, and I appreciate you letting me be aware of Audrey. My. Okay. And so that's the problem when I read these messages, and it totally derails my line of thinking, and I don't know, that just happens. So anyway, so we're going to be looking and talking about our tongue. We've talked about being merciful. We've talked about having some patience with people. We've talked about forgiving people. We've talked about some restoration. And tonight we are going to, Joni just said she's only 193 days older than me. And guys, 193 days older, that can be 1 day or 1,000 days. That's older. That's a whole year older. So let's end this argument now, Joni. You're older than me. You're going to be 54. It's your birthday next week. Accept the love. We love you. 54 coming up. It's okay. And sorry, now I know you're really going to get me. And so we're going to be talking about your tongue, which I'm going to have to start watching now, and addressing that. And when you start talking about all of the anxiety that we have in our nation, whether that's over the COVID, whether that's politics, whether that's whatever it is, we are reading and we're seeing things that are just taking place in arguments and disputes and disagreements. And we can just see how it just goes up and up and up. We see it on our social media. We can see it. Veronica told me today she was driving and she didn't go fast enough when the light changed. And she said the person behind her just laid on their horn. We can see it in all kinds of places. It's just happening. And one of the things that happen when we get upset and we're stressed out, we have a tendency to say some things that maybe we shouldn't. We might argue in a response or have a response that's not the best, that's not the nicest, that's whatever. And so I want you to think about some of the things the Bible talks about in what we say and how we respond. From the book of Psalms, David, he wrote this: "Set a guard over my mouth, O Lord. Keep watch over the door of my lips." Set a guard over the door of my mouth and watch the door of my lips. From the book of Proverbs, I'm going to share 3. And this first one, I think it probably could go with preachers or politicians. If you talk a lot, you are sure to sin. If you are wise, you'll keep quiet. There's some powerful stuff right there. If you're going to talk a lot, you're going to sin. If you're wise, you'll keep quiet. Proverbs 15:4. "As a tree gives fruit, healing words give life, but dishonest words crush the spirit." As a tree gives fruit, healing words give life, but dishonest words, they crush the spirit. Again, you know what it's like to talk to a person who wants their words to be intentional and helpful and healing and hopeful. You know that. You know what that means for you. And then you also know the pain and the sorrow and the grief of a person or people whose words crush your spirit. You might work with that person. You might live with that person. You might be next door neighbors with that person. You might be any number of different things, but you know what I'm talking about, that their words don't bring life. They bring death, and they bring hurt, and they bring heartache. Jesus said it this way in Matthew 15. He said, "It's not what people put into their mouths that make them unclean. It's what comes out of the mouth that makes them unclean." Karen Downey just wrote, "Talk less, smile more." And that's from A. Burr, who said that. And that's exactly right, Karen. Talk less, smile more. And so we see this image of what Jesus is saying is that it's not what we eat, the pork or whatever the other things of the Jewish restrictions that made us unclean. It's what comes out of our mouth, the anger, the hatred, the violence, the gossip, the disparaging remarks, the whatever it might be. That's the issue that we need to address. And so tonight we're going to be looking at the book of James in chapter 3, and we're going to be talking about this idea, and specifically from the book of James chapter 3, and I'm going to read 10 verses. So I'm going to read a little bit more. So if you've got your Bible or you want to write this down, you can do that for me real quick. This is from James chapter 3, starting with verse 1. Now many of you should become teachers, my brothers, for you know that we who teach will be judged with greater strictness. For we all stumble in many ways, and if anyone does not stumble in what he says, he's a perfect man, able to bridle his whole body. If we put bits into the mouths of horses so that they obey us, we guide their whole bodies. Look at ships. Though they are large, they are driven by strong winds. They are guided by a very small rudder. And wherever the will of the pilot directs, so also the tongue is a small member, yet it boasts of great things. How great a forest fire is set ablaze by a small fire, and the tongue, it's a fire in a world of unrighteousness. The tongue is set among our members, staining the whole body, setting on fire the entire course of life, and that itself was set on fire by hell. For every creature and beast and bird and reptile can be tamed, and has been tamed by mankind, but no human can tame the tongue. It's a restless evil, it's full of poison, and with it we bless our Lord and Father, and we curse people who are made in the likeness of God. From the same mouth come blessing and cursing, and my brothers, these things ought not to be. Does a spring pour forth from the same opening both fresh and salt water? Can a fig tree, my brothers, bear olives, or a grapevine produce figs? Neither can a salt pond yield fresh water. So when we start talking about what happens with our tongue, and we understand very clearly and very real this reality, because every person that's watching and every person that's listening, every person that's going to hear this, we've all been a part of this. We've all been at a moment where we go to church and we're worshiping the Lord and we're happy and we're singing Amazing Grace or whatever the song is we're singing, and then 30 minutes later we're on our way home and we're having a knockdown, drug out fight with our spouse or our kids or whoever. And maybe the next day we're having an argument or we're posting something on Facebook or whatever, and we're saying some things about a person that even though we might disagree, that we're not doing the right thing. And so I want you to hear very clearly that as we live in this extraordinarily intense season in our world, in our nation, that how we as followers of Christ exercise this little muscle is absolutely huge. I keep saying the word huge, but it's a situation that we have to pay attention to what we are saying. We have to pay attention to what we are writing. We have to pay attention on social media, what we are sharing. And guys, this situation with our tongue and what we say, whether we feel passionately on the right side or the left side, the middle side, whatever side, if we feel passionate about the masks or not wearing masks or the severity of the corona or whatever our issue is, as followers of Jesus, how we talk about people, issues, and concerns that we have, it's a big deal. And I think biblically and as followers of Christ, we need to really consider what we say. I don't know if any of you are following the news, but yesterday, the freshman congresswoman from New York City, Alexandria Octavia-Cortez, AOC, I think is her name, she was having a conversation with a Republican congressman from Florida, and he called her a very foul name. He said something very ugly, and we get so worked up about our differences and our disagreements that we can say things that we shouldn't say. And today he was on the floor of Congress apologizing for what he said, or at least trying to apologize. I don't know if it was much of an apology. And I want you to understand that the people that we disagree with vehemently, profoundly, they're still people made in the image of God. And you might hold your position extraordinarily dear. It might be the most important political thing for you imaginable. But the person who disagrees with you is still a person created in the image of God. And I cannot emphasize enough the importance of that. So we see this message from Psalm 141, setting a door over the guard of my lips and not sinning by the multitude of the words that we have. And Jesus reflecting that out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. And James saying that this tongue is kind of important, what we do. 3 things that James addresses about our tongue. And if you want to write these down, I think these are 3 kind of important things for us to consider about our tongue. First thing, and believe it or not, this is true. Your tongue is going to direct where you go. Your tongue is going to direct where you go. You might think it's your feet. You might think it's your position that you're walking. You might think it's your GPS. You might think of a lot of different things. But just as we read in James, your tongue is going to affect the direction you go in life. Second thing, your tongue, it can destroy everything you have. Your tongue can destroy everything you have. And April Elliott Smith, you hold on to that thought because we're going to cover that in my 3rd point. And in fact, this is my 3rd point. But my tongue, it will reveal my heart. What you say, the kind of jokes you tell, the kind of gossip you share, the kind of mess that you're posting on Facebook, the kind of whatever. Your tongue is a reflection of your heart. Whether you want to believe that or not, that is the fact. And that's what we're looking at as we watch through this. So the first thing that I want you, and I'm going to need you to respond. So if you can respond in some of these questions that I'm going to kick out here, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. So right now, if you would write down, what are some of the ways that you communicate right now? So just real fast, zip it down. And what are some ways that you are communicating, and you're communicating your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your passions? What are some of the ways that we're able to do that right now? So zip that down into the chat bar. What are some ways we're communicating? And I will wait. Hello, Kathy Ayers. Good to see you, my friend. Welcome. What are some ways we're communicating? And I hate this being the lag on Facebook, but that's just the way it is, Q. April, texting. That's right. What else? Facebook, calls. That's right. What else? Letters. Jan, I love your letters. You've written me several. That's much appreciated. How else are we communicating? Texting, social media. What else? Telephone. That's right, Faye Howard. Cards, we're sending cards. How other ways are we communicating? Zoom, that's right. Zoom and phone calls. Good answer, Terry. Cards, emails, Facebook, and phones. Very good. All right, now, guys, we're showing ourselves to be old. All right? Q, what are some ways that teenagers are communicating?
Social media.
What platforms on social media?
Instagram.
Insta, Snap, TikTok. And so there's a variety of different ways. At telephone, text, cards, emails. There are verbal and nonverbal communications. Good job. Instagram, Facebook, my blog, texting, group chat. There you go. All kinds of ways that we communicate.
Somebody gave you a nonverbal 66.
Will, we're going to leave that alone. And so there are so many different ways that we can communicate. We can communicate, we're going to be late for dinner. We can communicate, I'm lost. We can communicate so many different things in a multitude of ways that we can communicate what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what our need might be, and that's okay. And our message gets out extraordinarily fast as we do this communication. Now, if you're sending a letter and you put the stamp on it, it's going to be a couple days. If you communicate in some other ways, it might be slower. But if you're communicating via text, it's just like that. If you're communicating via Facebook, it's just like that. Insta, TikTok, all of these, it goes out in a moment. And in all of this communication, one of the things that can happen is if you communicate the wrong thing, it can determine your future direction in life. I read a couple of years ago about an individual who made a post, a kind of a sarcastic comment about a restaurant. It was an ethnic restaurant that she didn't like, and she didn't like the food, she didn't like the server, she didn't like whatever, and she wrote a Twitter about that, got on an airplane in New York, and she flew to Johannesburg, South Africa. By the time she got to Johannesburg, South Africa, it was like 12, 13, 14 hours. I don't know how many hours. Her phone, when she turned it back on, absolutely exploded with hundreds upon hundreds of text messages, emails, Twitter. She had, because people interpreted her comments as being racist, she had lost her job, she had lost her opportunities, and her life just turned into a total quagmire of disaster because of one Twitter post about a restaurant. And she tried to defend herself after that and did her best to do it, but everybody kept logging back to that one message. She wrote it about a bad experience in a restaurant and wasn't supposed to be that bad, and her life totally changed. When you post something on Facebook because you're angry about their political slant, you're angry about their treating the coronavirus lightly, you're angry about whatever your difference might be, and you make a post, you have to understand that all of your friends can read what you just wrote. So if I'm reading a post from my sister and we share a similar political persuasion and I agree with her or I say something in support of her, people, the 1,700 people on my friends list can read just what I wrote to my sister. And if it's not appropriate, if it's too politically charged or whatever it might be, my life can change. There's a pastor down in Birmingham, Alabama, does a lot of really, really good stuff. Pastors, it's a church of about 50,000 people, get incredibly generous. They give away millions upon millions of dollars. And he liked 2 Twitter posts from a person that is very, 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 very much right of center. And because he liked those 2 Twitter posts, the city that he was supporting kicked him out of 2 schools that they were renting. The city that was using a very difficult, very challenging housing development as a site for his church to have free medical clinics kicked him out and his church out because of a stupid like on Twitter. Friends, how we communicate and what we communicate can radically change the course of our lives. Now, in another capacity, there are friends of ours, followers of Christ in China or in Turkey, in different parts of Africa, in different parts of Mexico or Central America, where if people heard the message of Jesus, if they heard the message of repentance, of going in a new way, they too would be targeted because of what they were communicating. It can change their life. We try our best to communicate in these types of things, and when we don't think through some things, it can really create some issues. Our tongue and what we post or talk about at school or at work or at friendships or whatever it might be, it's kind of a big deal that we filter for just a nanosecond before we post, before we write, before we respond, before we text, before we do whatever. How many of you've written something out on Facebook and you read it and you read it and you read it and then you start hitting backspace because no, I don't need to say that. I don't need to do that. Or we get a text message from somebody at work and we don't like what they had to say and we write something out real fast and then we go, nah, maybe not the best thing. Delete, 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 delete. And we go back in that capacity because, sometimes we get hot, we get angry, our emotions get hot and we write these things. I think Gmail has a new feature that if you send an email and you hit send, it will stay out in the ether world for just a few seconds and you can decide if you really want it to go send. And if you don't, you can pull it back in just a few seconds after you hit send. I don't advertise that. I wouldn't advocate that because you might not be fast enough and that message might get out there and you'll be in trouble anyway. So filtering what we say can really make a difference. Now, consider this from your childhood. My guess is you probably had a coach who said some things that you might not have appreciated as a coach, and they kind of hurt your self-esteem, they hurt your self-confidence, they hurt some whatever. You might have had a teacher if you were struggling with algebra, or you were struggling with conjugation, or you were struggling with history, or you're struggling with anatomy, or whatever it was, that a teacher might have said something that wasn't the best and kind of really smashed your confidence. Sometimes we have some parents that instead of supporting us and building us up and helping us thrive and achieve, we had some parents who, they said some things that weren't the best. And those words that we said, that we heard, kind of shaped us and caused us to go in one direction or another. It really did. In the same line, you probably also had another coach who helped you thrive because they saw amazing potential in you and they built you up. You probably had a teacher who saw something incredible in you and they built you up and they helped you determine the course of your life. You probably had a parent or a sibling or an uncle or somebody in your biological family, in your family that saw something amazing in you and they built you up and they helped you succeed in all the things that you did. My guess is you probably also had a supervisor somewhere or somebody in whatever industry you're in that even when you were struggling as a newcomer, that they helped see something. So you can see the negative, you can see the positive, and you can see how the negative shaped you in one direction, you can see how the positive shaped you in another. You have the same power. You have the same power to bless a kid that you're coaching, a kid in your neighborhood, a co-worker, your spouse, your child, your niece, your nephew, your cousin, your parent, your sibling, whoever it might be. You have that same power because your tongue can also provide a direction or a purpose or a place for them to go. And I want you to understand that's power. That's huge. That's significant for us to recognize and focus in on. Our words carry a big influence in people's lives. So that's the first thing that I wanted to talk about. The second thing that I wanted to address on this, the power of our tongue, and this is not pleasant, this is not right, this is not necessarily the best. I'm glad Sherry Derby came back. Sherry Derby, you left us, now you're back. I hope you're listening. No, Sherry's a friend of mine that I love to tease a lot. Sherry is a gifted writer, and last 4 years ago, she wrote something on my Facebook page, and I shared that. And I shared that 4 years ago, and this week it popped up on my memories, and I just made a comment about it. I didn't share it again. And many of you read what Sherry had to say, and Sherry's just a gifted writer, and I've encouraged her to start writing again because she has a voice that people need to hear. She really does. I also like to tease her a lot, so that just kind of comes with it. So the second piece that we talk about is this idea that our tongue, it can destroy what we have. We looked at that in the book of James where it talks about a fire, that a fire gets started, the destruction, the poison. It talks about a variety of different things. Now, here's another question and I'm going to need you to respond to. So I would really appreciate you taking a few moments and responding to my question. And I'm thinking I'm getting a little lag time again. But why do you think that we oftentimes, or sometimes I should say, regret the things we say? Why is it that we might regret some of the things we say? Can you take a few minutes and just kick me some answers about why we might regret some things? And Q and Will, if you want to answer anytime, since I got real humans in the room, I'll take real humans as well. Any thoughts or any ideas about why we might regret some things that we might say?
I think a lot of times we don't take the time to think. You say it so fast, and then you regret because you're like, I probably shouldn't have said that.
Will just said that sometimes we say it so fast that we didn't think it through, just like Karen Downey, what she just said. Q, do you have anything to add there?
You may think it one way, they may perceive it a different way.
You may think it one way, and they may perceive it another way, okay? Sometimes we hurt people's feelings if we didn't mean to. Very good. Sherry Derby wrote, I think it's important to mention that we often regret the things we do not say. Very good. Everything is so instant, we don't think before we speak. We sometimes speak in anger. Linda Hagerman, we think before we speak. We don't think before we speak. Emotional response. Sometimes we ruin relationships. Sometimes we say things that aren't positive and helpful. Karen Borzinski. Sometimes our conscience catches up to us a little bit too late. Jennifer Stolting. We don't think about it and we answer too quickly, okay? Will, don't know if you need to say anything. Sometimes we can be hurtful. Sometimes it's someone else is speaking. We've got some anger going on. Ron White, sometimes we open our mouth and we just insert foot. We say the wrong thing at the wrong time. Our mouth jumps ahead of our heart. That's a good word, Mary Beth. Our mouth jumps ahead of our heart and our head. Linda Hagerman, big word right there. Just because it crosses your mind doesn't mean it needs to cross your lips. Joan Squires, we've had time to reflect and put ourselves in their shoes. That's a good word as well. Yeah, from Dan Verner, open mouth, insert feet. That's, as a pastor, that happens way too much. Yeah, that's another big one that goes along that direction. So sometimes we're thinking too fast and we're processing things too fast, and we get caught up in the moment, and we're just saying something that we shouldn't say. Now, here's the other piece of this, and I want you to think about this, and I'm going to pick on Q and Will here in just a second. Why is it that it's hard to control our speech? Why is it so hard to control what comes out of this volcano? Why? And Peggy, here's one. Our emotions just take straight over, and Terry Johnson, hurt people. Why is it that we can't control our speech? Will or Q, anything you want to kick in here?
I so wish I knew the answer.
Yeah,
I'd be a lot better off.
Will just said, I wish I knew the answer to that because I would be better off. That's exactly what James is saying. It's exactly what James is saying. Q, do you have anything to kick in? Q said, I'm just following my dad's lead. Yeah. I think part of it is our emotions. We get angry. Our feelings are hurt. Jennifer, I want to be heard. We want to be heard. And sometimes if we want to be heard, we're going to say something. Ooh, here we go. Linda Hagerman, because we want to retaliate. Stephanie Vale, anger is one letter away from danger. Jan Rail, because we're selfie takers and selfish at times. Good word. Ooh, here we go. Sherry Derby again. Sherry, I'm going to pick on you again. I can't control out of my mouth when I'm either hungry or I'm tired. I'm just overgoing a 5-year-old. There you go. Oh, we go. John Calloway. Here's one. We go brain dead. We just don't think about it. Mary Beth. We get too much pride in the way. Anything else that you guys think about that kind of reflects this? We listen to so much negativity, we need more time with the Lord, and that will help us to respond. But Terry Johnson, that's a good word. We're overwhelmed with negativity. We're overwhelmed with all the mess and the madness. Rodney Crowder, we make it about us. Good word, sir. That's a good word. Anything else? Then here's the question. We can say things now without, we can say things now. This is a big one for online stuff. April Smith, we can say things now without having to deal with the confrontation face to face. You can type it on your Facebook, you can type it on your phone, and you don't have to worry about the confrontation. Keyboard muscles is what Will just said. Yep, that's tough. So here's my third part of this. If our tongue can destroy what we have, how can we avoid that mistake? How can we avoid our tongue speaking and saying and creating distraction and destruction and pain and turmoil around us? What can we do? What are some things that we can do to prevent that? So help me out. What are some things that we can do to help prevent the pain of the destruction that our tongue brings? Okay. There you go, Karen Downey. Talk calmly and not through anger. Terry Johnson, muzzle it. In Spanish, you say que bozal. Putting on a muzzle. Sarah Tolliver, duct tape. Oh boy, Sarah's in the house. I won't say anything else. She blew up my Facebook yesterday about the Cowboys. I'm not saying anything. I want to keep it quiet. What else? Slow down. Work on kindness and gratitude. Sarah, I'm working on it right now. Thank you, Jan, for reminding me of that. What else? What else can we do? Take a beat to think about what you're going to say. Good word. Just pause and think about it. Think before you act. Good word, Kathy Weaver. What else? Zip your lips. That's sometimes easier said than done. Good word. Literally bite your tongue. I like that, Linda. There you go, Joan. Now she's quoting the Bible. If there's anything worthy of praise, think on those things. Make an effort just to let beautiful words come out of your mouth. Good word. The tongue, David, that's right. Walk away, Jennifer Stolting. Stop and think about it. Peggy, take a deep breath. Jeff, listen to the Holy Spirit. Good word. Jennifer, pray. Pray. Becky, think and wait. Friends, I hope you're taking notes on all these answers, because these are good answers and these are things we need to focus in on. Angela from Florida, what would Jesus say? How would Jesus respond to it? Remember what James said 2 chapters earlier, James 1:19. To be quick to listen and slow to speak and slower still to get angry. Hello, Miss Julie. Good to see you with us. Ask the Spirit to fill your mouth first. Good word. There you go, Rodney. That's a good reference to your mom. My mom would say God created with 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Amen, sister. That's exactly right. Well, you think about it. So you think about this, friends. Your tongue really can destroy everything you have. Marriage, relationship with parents, relationship with siblings, your jobs. It can destroy relationships at church. It can destroy, you get angry with a police officer. It can mess things up. You get angry in so many different ways. It can change your life. It just can. And there are going to be a lot of times when we get upset over stupid stuff. And how we talk, people are going to remember. And now, because everybody has one of these phones, they're going to record what you say and how you say it. And they're going to share it on social media, and the whole world is going to see you blow up. So when we talk about the tongue being a destruction, now it's not just the fact that your family might have known you were a jerk, or the fact that your coworkers might have known you had a bad temper. Now with social media, it goes everywhere. So when we talk about the destruction of the tongue, it's kind of real, and it's a big deal for us to consider. When you think about it, it's something that people take pretty serious. As a pastor, there are times when I talk to people about whatever, and I try to be teasing, I try to be fun, but sometimes I can push the line a little bit far, and you got to watch out. You all know I love to tease about the Dallas Cowboys, and I love to tease about the St. Louis Cardinals, and that it's all fun. There are some people that take that stuff serious, and it's just a little bit, got to be careful with how we respond to this. Final piece is not only is the tongue kind of sets our direction, and how we use our tongue can destroy what we have, but the final piece is that what we say and how we say it, it's a revelation of our heart. It's a revelation of our heart. April Smith, you talked about this a couple minutes ago. You said garbage in, garbage out. And when we think about what James chapter 3 and verses 9 and 10 says, listen what this says. From the same mouth come both blessing and cursing. Brothers, this ought not to be. Does a spring pour forth from the same opening both fresh and salt water? No. Can a fig tree bear olives, or a grapevine figs? No. With our words, we shouldn't be able to praise God in one moment and then curse our neighbor out the next. It's not kosher. It's not right. And so this picture of the tongue revealing our heart, that reveals a big issue. It reveals a deeper issue. And if what we are is about gossip or slander or putting people down or always going on to the negative side of things or whatever it might be, if we're ugly, if we're vulgar, if we're whatever it might be with our words, if we're constantly going behind people's backs, if we're talking about people for whatever the story might be, if that is our story, that is a reflection of our heart. And that is not a good thing. So maybe the issue is not how do we just clean up this, but how do we deal with our heart and how we make that happen. And that's the piece where, as April wrote, garbage in, garbage out. So what we pay attention to, what we read, what we listen to, that's an issue. But then also the piece about praying and the piece about putting the word in your heart and your mind, the piece about gathering for worship, the piece about serving others, the piece about dying to self, this is a big part of how we communicate. And that happens on social media, that happens in our workplace, that happens in our home, that happens in our church. It's a matter of how we change our heart and how we deal with people and how we talk to people. Because this, it just reflects what's in our heart of hearts. And if our heart of hearts needs work, that's something we need to consider and think about how we do that. I don't know, guys. This is an interesting topic. It's a challenging thing. It's one of those pieces that we have to give some thought to and reflect on as we go through this. I'm personally, this is a season of struggle for me right now. I've got some buddies that I hang out with, and I will just tell you that their language it's less than stellar, and I'm being very generous when I say that. And I'm really struggling with how do I talk to them about some of their language. They don't go to church. They're not involved in a church. And am I wanting them to act like a Christian when they're not a Christian? Do I ignore their language? Do I forget about their language? Do I act like their language doesn't bother me when it makes me uncomfortable, when it's just one of those things? How do we deal with this? How do we process this? And the issue as I'm processing in my life is about some other people and how they're communicating. But sometimes when we're thinking about this topic, it's how we talk, and it's how we're engaging with different things. And so as we process what comes out of our mouth, I know we get worked up about what other people post on Facebook and what other people say. But really the big deal, and I think the thing that Jesus is most worried about, is not the speck of dust in your neighbor's eye, but Jesus is worried about this thing that's stuck in yours, stuck in mine. And we can worry about some other people, but maybe the big thing is we worry about ourselves. So friends, as we process this crazy world in which we live, think about your tongue, think about what you say, think about how you talk, think about how you engage, because it's a big deal. And I'm going to adjust this and work on this and flip this around a little bit and kind of share this on Sunday in my message, because I really want us to focus in on this. Let me chase that rabbit for a second. Past couple of weeks, I've been preaching a message series called Love Move First. Did that the past 2 weeks. I'm going to pause this week, and next week, Dee Witten is going to preach for me. And then starting August 9th, we're going to spend 4 weeks talking about Love Move First. And we're going to have some neat video testimonies from people about how love moved first in their life, and how God changed their life through some acts of love, and how they've been able to get involved by just taking a step of faith and movement in love. So I'm looking forward to sharing that in the next couple of weeks. But you're here with me on Wednesday night. There's 58 of you right now. I have no idea how many will watch it before Sunday morning, but we're going to revisit this and talk about this on Sunday. So anyway, just want you to be aware of that. Thank you guys for joining with us tonight. It's nice to have you. It's always nice to have Will and Q with me tonight, and I appreciate Will's very kind comments, and Q's been nice to have her here. She's been reading a book of mine on Hamilton, and I'm trying to get her to think about if she and I can do a Hamilton song on a Wednesday night. I think that would be fun.
I think she'll pick the song and we'll all be singing that.
Well, Will just said she'll pick the song and we'll sing that. I can't rap as fast as those guys. I'm thinking I can do Farmer Refuted. That's about it. So guys, you have a great night. Thanks for showing some love to my friend Joni. Thanks for showing some love to my sister Susie. And thank you for everything that you've been able to share with me. It's been awesome, and I miss you guys dearly, and it's wonderful to be with you tonight. Heather, nice to have you with us from Hong Kong. Karen Downey, nice to have you with us from Stafford. Josh Hyatt, nice to have you, Officer Hyatt, with us. Mary Helper, good to have you with us this evening as well. Sherry, oh man, Sherry's dogging my gray tone. Sherry, my hair is going. It's going bad. Way. All right, Jennifer, good to see you, my friend. Will and Q are the super dynamic duo. All right, Joni, thank you, David. Love you much. I'm going to focus on this for the week. Very good. And Joni, I'm going to be in Southern Illinois next week, so I might even be there on your 54th birthday, just saying. So anyway, Oni, nice to see you. Susan, good to have you with us from California. Lisette, my favorite back row Baptist, good to see you with us. Joshua, hey Josh, I tell your police officer friends that I gave $250 at Nathan's Dairy for any police officer in uniform. They get a free ice cream courtesy of Manassas Baptist Church. So please be aware of that. Tell your police officer friends. Kathy, good to see you. Karen, see you. You guys have a good night. Love y'all.